Hi, just want to do a quick video on supply and demand and how it affects labor, like how much you get paid for a job, and how immigration and things like work release and prison gang work affects it. I'm just gonna throw this out there that one thing I don't think people understand is we're all slaves, and in every country where you don't have a slave, the only thing that happens is every servant becomes a slave. So I wouldn't so much to say, I don't want to be rude, but black people weren't really emancipated in my mind, and after the Civil War, it's more like they were just given a promotion, but we're all still slaves. So a supply and demand curves just says as the supply of a product, like a widget, we just call it a widget in economics. It's just a fictitious product or good or service. As the supply goes up from 0 to infinity, the demand for that product will go from will just go down. So we'll just explain it. I'll do it like my economics teacher in high school did. There was a hurricane going on when I took my first economics class. It had just happened, and in the news it was said that what happened was they had no potable water in a lot of areas, and water was scarce, so it was in the news that people were paying like $100 for just a case of bottled water, and my teacher said, that's outrageous, right? And we're like, yeah. But he's like, well, actually, economics, this falls on the curve. See, what happened is the supply went down. Drinkable water went down to near zero, so the demand went up. See, here's zero demand, and here's a near infinite demand. So before, when you'd pay like a couple dollars back then for a case of water, under normal times when you can get it out of the tap, in the situation where you couldn't get it out of your tap anymore, and the price just went way up. So if somebody was dying for water, then the supply and demand curve says that it's just pointing out that, like, you could hypothetically charge them everything, like, here, sign this contract, become my slave, and I'll save your life, and you can have all the water you want, that type of thing. So it's definitely a scientific, mathematical law, but it's also just a concept that just makes sense. So with labor, you just have, in a normal situation, where Congress and all governments do nothing, and nothing major happens. There's no, and just say you just went 20 years and nothing new was invented, nobody died, nobody was born, and nobody immigrated or emigrated. You would have something around here, right in the middle. You'd have a medium supply of demand and a medium supply of labor. So everybody would just be getting paid, we could say, the average amount. But then what happens is lots of things happen, like the labor goes up, the supply goes up and down. One of the things is if crime goes up and we end up with more work release prisoners, they're technically prisoners, but they go to they can work, for the day or a weekend or something, and prison gangs going out and working, picking up trash and whatnot, and you also have a situation where the third thing is, if you have ex-felons, what happens is they get a glass ceiling, so you get an increased supply of labor for crappy jobs like like fast food, or working in a foundry or landscaping or something. So, or as comedians say, or you can go work in Hollywood as an entertainer. Tim Allen. So if you get more of these three things, then your supply goes up, and then wages go down because there's less demand. You get more supply, less demand. Now, if you get less of them, then there's more. If you decrease the amount of work release, prison gangs, ex-felons, then people actually get paid more. The entire population, especially those low-end sectors, as employers have to pay more to get that labor. Now, immigration, open borders and mass immigration, that is just a recipe for total slavery. It's the only thing you're going to get with that is just if your immigration goes way up, you just let anybody in, then all of a sudden you've got an almost unlimited supply of labor, especially illegal immigrants or foreign contract national workers who are unable to quit their job without being deported, and they really have to toe the company line. And their wages are set. They're contracted every year by the Labor Department. They're set by them. As immigrants come in, especially illegals, and then foreign workers, your supply gets near infinite. You cannot. It's almost impossible for anybody to get a raise. What happens is the minimum wage absolutely becomes a maximum wage. It is the only way to switch it. The only way to prevent that is through a whole lot of who knows, crazy Marxist, fascist policies. Who knows? God. In this situation, what you're going to end up with is a lot of robbing and killing. It's a nightmare. The more immigrants you get, just the closer you get to a civil war, because you're just going to have such a giant gap between the poor and the rich. Integration is going to be almost impossible in that regard. Now, if immigration goes down, if you're in a situation right now where we have a high immigration, like say we're somewhere around here with immigration, if we were to decrease immigration, we can get to a more normal state, higher paying wages, especially for those low income jobs that they do. And if you brought it way down, you could make a ton of money just for digging a ditch, or somebody who's working on Wall Street wouldn't be making as much compared to you anymore. All other things remaining constant. Everybody knows the rich cheat and they rig everything. But I think that's it. Modern economics, what they'll do is they have it's not a straight line. All these crazy things happen in real life. So what they like to do is confuse the matter by, saying like, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? And what if we put in this policy? Then we can move along the curve and it'll be great. And it's all a bunch of bullshit. This regular old supply and demand curve for widgets and just simple, basic supply and demand curve is really all you need. It's like in math, with addition and subtraction is all that multiplying and dividing is, and all that a lot of calculus is just multiplication and division. It's all. This is the nuts and bolts. Is basically what I'm saying. So that's it. Thanks. Bye.